Hi, welcome to Paper 2, Question 2, Warehouses. Here's a starter activity. Please look up alternative words for abut, pair, apothecary and convey. This is what the words mean. Abut means adjoin, neighbour or border, neighbour in the verb sense of neighbour, to neighbour somebody. Pair means to peel, scrape or shave, like you do with vegetables before you cook them. Apothecary means chemist, dispenser, pharmacist. And convey means to move, carry or transport. These are the learning objectives. All learners will be able to identify the topic of paragraphs, be able to pick out topics common to both texts or identify that there are none, and be able to identify similarities and differences in the writer's views and perspectives. Paper 2, question 2. You need to refer to both texts for this question. Use details from both sources. Write a summary of the differences between the warehouse experiences of Charles Dickens and Carol Jones. How? First, identify the topics of the paragraphs. Dickens describes the Blacking warehouse to his biographer. The Blacking warehouse was the last house on the left-hand side of the way at Old Hungerford Stairs. It was a crazy tumble-down old house, abutting, of course, on the river and literally overrunning with rats. Its wainscoted rooms and its rotten floors and staircase, and the old grey rats swarming down in the cellars, and the sound of their squeaking and scuffling coming up the stairs at all times, and the dirt and the decay of the place, rise up visibly before me as if I were there again. The counting house was on the first floor, looking over the coal barges and the river. There was a recess in it, in which I was to sit and work. In the Dickens passage, the first paragraph is about the location and outward appearance of the workplace. The second paragraph is about the inside appearance. My work was to cover the pots of paste blacking, first with a piece of oil paper and then with a piece of blue paper, to tie them round with a string and then to clip the paper close and neat all round until it looked as smart as a pot of ointment from an apothecary shop. When a certain number of grosses of pots had attained this pitch of perfection, I was to paste on each a printed label and then go on again with more pots. 2 or 3 other boys were kept at similar duty downstairs on similar wages. One of them came up in a ragged apron and a paper cap on the first Monday morning to show me the trick of using the string and tying the knot. His name was Bob Fagin, and I took the liberty of using his name long afterwards in Oliver Twist. The third paragraph is about his work, and the fourth paragraph is about other staff. My week as one of Amazon's human drones revealed what it's really like to work in an online warehouse, by Carol Jones. I was hired through an employment agency to work in the Swansea warehouse for a week as a temp, hand-picking items ordered by customers and delivering them to the packers. My shift starts at 7:45 a.m. and ends at 6:15 p.m. Lunch, unpaid, is from 1:15 to 1:45 p.m. The warehouse is massive, modern and clinically clean. There are hundreds of us pickers running around picking up the orders from people who order online. Sometimes I don't even see the other pickers, the warehouse is that big. I often walk 12 miles a day. There are 2 15-minute breaks. I work mostly in the outsized non-conveyable section, the home of diabetic dog food and bioorganic vegetarian dog food and obese dog food, of 52-inch TVs and 6 packs of water shipped in from Fiji and toys. In the Carol Jones passage about Amazon, the paragraphs in the first half are paragraph 1 about hiring, 2 about the shift pattern, 3 about the internal appearance, staff, exercise of the work, and 4 is about the breaks. I carry a handheld computer which tells me where to go and what to pick and measures my work rate. Yesterday, the manager told us we've picked and packed 155,000 items in the past 24 hours. On December the 2nd, the busiest online shopping day of the year, that figure was closer to 450,000. As an agency worker, I'm paid 19p an hour over the minimum wage, £6.50, and the shifts are 10.5 hours long. There is a sense that everything is pared to the absolute bone, from the cheapest of the cheap plastic safety boots employees are offered, to the sack of your sick policy, to the 15-minute break that starts wherever you happen to be in the warehouse. It takes me 6 minutes to walk to the airport-style scanners everyone has to pass through when leaving the shop floor, where I spend a minute being frisked to make sure I haven't stolen anything. I queue for a minute for the loos, get a banana out of my locker, sit down for 30 seconds, and then I get up and walk the 6 minutes back to my station. Not the best 15-minute break. Paragraphs 5 to 10 are about IT equipment, business stats, pay, the meanness of the company, security, and breaks. Here is the question again. How do you structure your answer? Which topics are covered in both texts? They both cover the appearance of a workplace, staff, and working methods. What's different about the texts? Text B covers hiring, shifts, breaks, pay, security, and apparent meanness of the employer. The details of those aspects covered by both are very different. This might help you understand some of the differences. In breakout groups, we picked up to 5 quotes from each text to show the differences. Learners then chose 3 differences to write about. Here is a selection of possible differences. One is filthy and the other is clean. Large and small. One person works stationary and the other one has to walk around. One gets to meet other workers and the other one doesn't. And in one place, Dickens learns from people while Jones only follows instructions from a computer. Don't forget to write 2 paragraphs for your 8 marks using the Peel or Peas structure. So your point is what's the difference? Your evidence is your quotations from both texts, and your explanation would be what would the reader understand directly and by implication. Here's the mark scheme. You're aiming for level 3, 5 to 6 marks at least. So you need to show a clear understanding of the differences, that's your point. You need to interpret the text, so that means analysis, and use quotations. Time to write and share. As you can see in my model answer, the points are in green, the evidence, the quotations are in yellow, and the explanation is in blue. I'll read it to you. Dickens and Jones describe the workplaces very differently. Dickens describes the jar factory as overrun with rats. However, the Amazon warehouse is clinically clean. This shows us that the companies have a very different attitude to their business from each other. The jar factory has not maintained its premises, and as a result, working conditions are poor. However, the Amazon warehouse is perhaps also unpleasant and a little soulless, as shown by the adjective clinically. The buildings are also very different sizes. Dickens' factory is a tumble-down old house, whereas Amazon's warehouse is massive. This shows that there is a different output from the businesses in terms of the numbers of items sold. The working experience differs between the businesses. Dickens sits most of the time, but Jones has to exercise. There was a recess in it in which I was to sit and work, but Jones says that she walks 12 miles a day. Social interaction with other staff is also very different. For Dickens, 2 or 3 other boys were kept at similar duty, downstairs on similar wages. However, at Amazon, Jones says that sometimes I don't even see the other pickers, the warehouse is that big. This implies that Dickens' factory is less strenuous but more social, and that Jones is exhausted and lonely.